Ah. As you can already see, this is not one of my typical videos. We're gonna have a way slower pace because I'm gonna be answering my favorite questions under my review of From Season 4, Episode 5. We did it last week and it was a blast, and apparently a lot of you liked it, and there is absolutely nothing I won't do for my family to be entertained. So let's start. Question number 1. B West 5704. Everybody has a part to play. It's always someone with one eye, someone killed by a boulder, someone whose face is burned, someone with a shot through the head, someone who is an antenna, a little boy, the last to survive, a story walker, a violinist, etc. They all have their parts to play. My question: who writes the script? And thus all of the elements first have to happen to usher in the massacre. The man in yellow is some sort of a director. Now granted, I've never seen videos about, the man in yellow being the writer or storyteller or scriptwriter or director. I've seen them popping up on my feed, but I'm trying to be completely avoiding right now any From material other than my own. I don't want nobody to affect my thinking and my analysis. But to me, honestly, doesn't seem plausible at all. And I'm being polite here, because what we know about the story is that it was told to the Ankui children by somebody who loved them. But someone who loved them told them a story. Now, I cannot see any situation where the man in yellow was the one to love those kids. I didn't know you're gonna be making that noise. Can you please shut up? Sorry everybody, no voodoo smoke this time in the video. At least I got my nectar of the gods, chamomile tea. I was talking about somebody telling the Ankui children the story, and that somebody was someone who loved them. Right? It's not the man in yellow, it's most likely Tabitha and Jade, or their previous reincarnation, the first reincarnation, or the original ones. And they were singing them lullabies. Can lullaby be a story? Well, you're gonna have to ask Itsy Bitsy Spider. I mean, he has a pretty interesting story, and everything is working out fine for him, I guess. So probably this was the story. The lullaby gave them hope. I'm not 100% confident, but it doesn't seem to me that the man in yellow is the writer, is the creator, or even the director of the story. He is there to help the story to move a certain way, and the boy in white, in my opinion, is there to make sure that maybe this time, just once, the story will unfold in a different way that will basically save the Ankui children, hopefully, and give them opportunity to move on to the next phase of, human life. Now, as you mentioned, even now when we have all of Jade's reincarnations, none of them died the same way. They all died by the hands of the villagers, of the townspeople, whatever you want to call them. I call them NPCs that are not really interesting. But we see that every time they died a little bit different. One of them has a burn on the face and was probably, killed with the rifle, like he showed it to Jade in episode 6, season 1. Another one, Christopher, his throat was slit and nothing else. Somebody was somehow crushed by the boulder. I really want to see the villagers grabbing the boulder and throwing it at him. That's interesting scene to watch, right? Agree with me here. But even though the story repeats itself every time, there are a lot of differences. Probably not that significant, they all still die in the end by the hands of the NPCs, but there are some different ways, which implies that you can change the story. You can change the story. Yes, English is my third language, you're gonna have to excuse me here. Question number 2, Darren Duncan 7399. That's a very important number. No vacancy on answer sign in Jade Strip means town is full. Spider descends from ceiling in Lake of Tears means in underground or inside a building. Now the town is probably full somehow, but we're already losing people, right? Someone died last episode. So now there are 46 people. Out of those 46 people, one of them is the man in yellow, who is not even people. So yeah, but I don't think we're gonna see more people arrive into the town anymore. I don't think in season 4 or 5 we're gonna see new arrivals to Frombit. That's it. This is the favorite part. No new comings, nobody is coming right now, that's it. Now you have to tear each other apart and you have to kill Jade and Tabitha in order for cycle to restart itself. Now, regarding the spider coming down from the ceiling next to the Lake of Tears, there is a very interesting theory, because when Tabitha and Victor were going through the caves, there was some water dripping from the caves, which is usually the case in caves, but still, you know, every little detail is important in this TV show, so maybe the Lake of Tears is actually underground. Now, if you remember, bartender Tom was saying something important to Jade in the end of season 2. He told him, everything that is precious, the nature is trying to protect it, like your brain is behind a skull, your heart has ribs to protect it. So naturally, the most valuable thing in this place will be also the most protected. And the best protection here is obviously from this. So yeah, Darren Duncan 7399, it makes a lot of sense that the Lake of Tears will be somehow underground. And I still believe that the Lake of Tears is not actually a lake. It's something else, something way more supernatural. Question number 3. Brobezrin6117, I forget, but have we seen any of the town's monsters at that settlement? No, we haven't. Is it possible that every town holds its own types of monsters and they are not allowed to cross boundaries? Maybe the settlement at the Lake of Tears has massive spiders. Could the massive spiders' webs be surrounding a different settlement, or maybe even the Lake of Tears? Now that's also a very interesting theory that I do like a lot, even more than the Lake of Tears being underground, because it's working with spiders, and you know me, give me spiders every day. Not in my house, but from TV show. Now there is a very interesting moment with Jack Bender when he was talking to Emmanuel Noisette. He said that the monsters John Griffin initially told him, they are from a previous era. And we already pretty much know with almost 100% certainty that the history of this place is obviously very old and ancient. So the monsters from this are kind of new. So it does make sense that maybe in previous cycles there were, I don't know, maybe those walking scarecrows, even though Victor hopefully would remember that. Yeah, probably wouldn't. Yeah, you know, Victor and his memory, the most unreliable memory in the history of memories. So yeah, it's very possible. Now, regarding the place with all of the spider webs, I tend to believe that this is somehow connected to kidnapping the souls, like the spider is basically trapping the souls of the people that die here, and the spiders is the one that create those nightmares from, you know, the people that die, like Sarah told us and like Tabitha told us in the previous episode. Somebody is creating those nightmares. Maybe the spider is living in the lake, maybe the spider, I don't know, it's probably not a real spider. Anyway, we're gonna have to wait and see, but I do love the way you think. Jerry Hadema 2555. Spiders, spiders, spiders. And I remember a water reference when Tabitha or Jade were in the caves. Tabitha was in the caves, we were just talking about this. Is the Lake of Tears located where the children were sacrificed? It is interesting because it would make some kind of a sense. Maybe the Lake of Tears was actually created from the sacrifice. We know that the sacrifice created the roots of the tree, but maybe something else. I still believe that the sacrifice somehow created the boy in white, because he's a manifestation of their naivety. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong here, but once again, this is why we gather here. This is why we enjoy those kind of conversations. I don't really care about being right or wrong. I'm just enjoying the ride, and letting my fantasy and my deductive skills work is the biggest fun for me. And also, we have seen in Jade's mushroom trip, when he was going actually to the place of the sacrifice, the biggest spider was on the ceiling, just like Ethan was saying in his vision, and maybe it's connected somehow. I don't know how yet, but maybe it is. Guess what? I have here question number 5. Polino, great video. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate the love. I love the love. I also think Tabitha's memory of the dolls takes place sometime in the 19th century. Though I'm no historian. Yeah, I also had this feeling, you know, Tabitha, the little girl, she's dressed a lot like she's from the Middle Ages or even some kind of a fairy tale. But the guy that takes her dolls away kind of looks like But the guy who takes her dolls away kind of looks like industrial. But the guy who is taking her dolls away kind of looks to me like industrial Revolution. I've seen the detail in little Tabitha's body before, so I'm going to hyperfixate and hunt down. Last season, when we all saw all of those dreams were of a little girl in a cloak, I thought they might show the original settler mother as a child. Perhaps she actually grew up in that place. If, however, the memory comes from a later period, that means one of Tabitha's previous incarnations came to Fromville as a child. I don't know if that means anything, but it surprises me. Me too, that kinda doesn't make any sense. Once again, maybe this guy with the vest and, the flat hat, maybe he's also 16th century somehow. Because Tabitha and Miranda seem to have been brought to play the role of mother as adults. Yeah, it would make sense that she would be brought to the place as a child. Yeah, I agree with you actually. It's not logical, so maybe it is actually 1506, like in the lighthouse. Once again, the clothes feel off to me a little bit, but I'm definitely not a historian, so that's not a hill I'm gonna die on. Question number 6. Carito L78. Why would Eloise be alive in the settlement all these years but never contacting Victor just a couple of hours away? Well, yeah, logical question. I am asking myself that question many times. You know what, even the first time I heard the theories about Eloise being alive and maybe living in the village, I was like, come on, man, it doesn't make any sense. Really, 40 years? I can even understand somehow a year, 2 years. I don't know, being afraid, leaving the village is very scary for them. Both of them are never leaving the place when they're actually there. If Victor's not leaving Fromville, she's not leaving the village. But then again, 40 years, 40, maybe the creators will make it work somehow, because we are seeing way too many hints for her being alive. I hope it's not just the case of them playing red herring with us, or maybe, just keeping this option for themselves, like if we're gonna need Eloise, we're gonna use her, but if not, forget Eloise. I do hope there's gonna be a very interesting and hopefully logical explanation if Eloise is alive, and if she's actually really there in the village. Now, me saying that she was jumping and doing parkour on the roofs there, it was obviously a joke. Once again, this is not me saying that she was the one jumping there on the roofs. Yeah, so that's why I used the shot from The Office. Hey, funny. And question number 7. Vido Lulmarch. The boy in white said Christopher had to go through the tree to save the kids, but Miranda went through and messed it up. She didn't go through. She was killed by Smiley. Tabitha went through and accomplished nothing. I would argue she learned about the bubble tree, she brought Henry, she learned through this experience that she is a reincarnation of the original mother, and she's the one who needs to save the Ankui children. She needs to sing a song for a living, and Jay needs to play, and this orchestra will somehow save the children. I hope not, but kinda looks like this is the way we're going. Does that mean to break the cycle Jade has to go through the tree and interact with the lighthouse, or with whatever is there probably? Because he has still yet to go through a tree. I have this theory, I even think I was saying this in my Big From Solve video. Maybe possible, but it kind of looks more and more like they need to do something in tandem, something as a couple, or maybe as a family even, with Julie accompanying them and Ethan there singing a song for a living. Whatever is gonna happen, but it kind of feels like music will be also a solution for escaping this place. This is an awesome video. I'm so happy to read this. Thank you so much. I put a lot of effort, and it's nice to be appreciated. I want to be humble, and I'm definitely humble, but I'm also enjoying the laugh. Yes, pour it on me. I do love the laugh. I'm having a blast. Also, Capricorn is a tarot, means what has power over you, or what are your chained to. The tarot card has the 3 eyes that Julia's t-shirt has, the one with the illusion, right? From the first episodes of season 1, like 1 and 2 and 3 maybe, and it has the X, like Julie wrote on the piece of paper for her story walking. Can I just check the Capricorn card? Capricorn tarot card. Well, that looks way more like the devil than a Capricorn. I feel violated. I'm a Capricorn. This is how you portray Capricorn? Or maybe this one is Capricorn. I like this one way more. Yeah, we're gonna go with this one. I think this is best. I do appreciate the information. I'll make sure to check it out with Darren Matero. He is my expert in tarot cards. It sounded like he's my expert. I don't own Darren Matero. It's just he's the guy that I'm gonna ask everything about tarot cards. Like as soon as I'm seeing anything tarot related, I'm like, Darren, man, can you please explain it to me? I'm trying to understand. Oh wow, that's a long comment here. You see, I was making those comments yesterday and I was making screenshots, and now I'm kind of already don't exactly remember what you were writing. I was kind of enjoying the comment in the moment. So like, okay, this one I'm going to screenshot, this one I'm going to screenshot. And now it's like a new experience to me. So Emily Glass 6625, there's a question that I have been meaning to ask here on this channel because I particularly enjoy your theory about Fromville being a story, and because I haven't really encountered any recently proposed answer to my question. Why do you think the show is called From? From is a word that is often very useful in stories, of course, but it's not one of the first words I think in connection with storytelling. I suppose it calls attention to some kind of origin, and we know now that there is definitely some kind of founding mythology or sequence of event that is crucial to understanding what is happening in the town, in the present, so that makes sense. Now I'm gonna answer here pretty fast. I'm 100% positive that the creators gonna put a couple of meanings in from. This is maybe where we're all coming from as Americans. I'm not Americans, but you know, everybody who's there is American. Like knowing your history, both the good and the bad sides of it. Also, as we now know, maybe from Julie's words, everything, like every story, every mythology actually came from the spiritual world, that it's now connected to ours through this Fromville, you know, like a gate between the spirits and the real world. Also, you know, in one of the interviews, I think Jeff Pinkner, sorry, was speaking about, you know, From, if you read it backwards, it's morph, in morphology is something, something. So basically they're putting it there, they have their meaning, but it's not like, I don't think we're gonna have this moment of one of the characters is saying something like, so this is where it's all from, tom, tom, tom. And we're like, ah, that's why From. They're allowing us to put the meaning to this word from our own experience with this TV show. And it's pretty much very common practice in those kind of TV shows and movies, etc. I didn't have a good answer or guess of my own until the last day or so. I recently saw someone suggest that the existence of more than one type of monster/nightmare within Fromville might mean that every past iteration or cycle had its own type of monster, and even that the monsters could have existed before the sacrifice, creating the townspeople's preoccupation with living forever and being desperate enough to sacrifice their children. I have always assumed that the Frombies are the townspeople who did the sacrifice, because they are so unkillable, and that sounds like living forever, albeit in a cursed existence. But if the Frombies are just a 20th century Scottish iteration of monsters that have existed in many forms, perhaps it's actually the people who arrive by car who are the townspeople who sacrifice their children, and now only live forever in the sense of an eternal rebirth and return to Fromville, to be tormented again and again. Well, that's still a possibility, but so far everything that we heard from Fatima kinda says otherwise. Like the monsters, the Frombies, I saw them. She was saying specifically that she saw them making a bargain with something that gave them a promise of immortality. So they need to change that. With the information that we have right now, it looks like Frombies were the one to sacrifice, but maybe their souls are being also reincarnated every time with some kind of a different monster type. And we also know that they like to steal things, they like to take things, so maybe they just took the clothes from the townspeople from the previous cycle. That's it. So it's old bodies, new clothes. If that were the case, the title of the show would be the answer to probably one of the first questions on someone's mind when they arrive in town. What is the place and why am I here? It is where you are from. That's also a very interesting interpretation of this word, and it can possibly be true. But as I told you, I do think they're gonna just go with the whatever you feel right about you, whatever you feel in your heart is right about this TV show and about its name, this is the case. And this is not one of the questions that I honestly, me, myself, and this is only my opinion, I need like a direct answer. I need to understand the lore and mythology with the direct answers. I need to know exactly how it works. but why the show is named from, I guess everybody will have their own interpretation. Hels Haragas Tages 619. Something to remember. Tabitha specifically said that she remembered how to hurt the dolls. I'm not sure that the one she stabbed is truly dead, but simply returned to its former or lifeless state. Also something interesting, the dolls were tied up initially. It makes me wonder if the rope was only just long enough to reach the settlement, but not long enough for them to reach the building. Kenny and Jim stayed in when the settlement was first found. The noise they heard that night was likely the dolls. It is possible, definitely, but they were pretty much very strong, right? They can break the wall, and why wouldn't they break the walls of those huts when Jim and Kenny were there? An explanation that comes to mind is maybe because our morons actually, put stones inside of them and now they became way more powerful. I don't know, but it kind of still doesn't make any sense to me. The dolls are no longer leashed, so I wonder if they will potentially make the trip to the town. Maybe. I guess it's gonna be a very interesting moment for the townspeople when they have zombies and now freaking scarecrow monsters just walking around. But I do think there will be ties to this town, to this village, as maybe with a spell or some sort, or the curse will keep them there. My theory, after what Jade saw by Dr. Mehtabanasrin 7782, is her theory that basically the boy in white is Jade and Tabitha's son from the first cycle when the remaining children were sacrificed. Donna might be sacrificed, the ritual which the men in yellow then have proposed the town people to sacrifice their kids and get immortality might be broken because the boy in white somehow escaped, got spared due to Jim and Tabitha's action, so the children hope that they can all be saved or at least released from the trap by their actions again in future cycle. Everything is possible. Okay, every theory or imagination / fantasy can completely valid until it's being disproven, like when there's 100% facts that it's not working. But once again, I wouldn't call it a theory, it's more of a hunch in my opinion, because theories are mostly based on something. And correct me if I'm wrong, it kind of feels like it's not based on anything, at least not anything that we know about the boy in white. He may have been a child, an extra child. It is possible, because he's also a child and the only children we know are Uncool children. But what we know about him from Sarah, for example, which is very intuitive, she is very intuitive to this place, like she was saying in the season 2, maybe everybody who dies here, they nightmare come to life. And like in season 4, by the way, everybody who dies here, or at least some people who die here, their nightmares come to life. So Sarah, I trust her intuition, and she was saying that the boy in white is not actually a boy. I think he's something else. ADH93, awesome! That's awesome, my friend. Do we think Jade and Tabitha need to sing a song about the children at a bottle tree? Maybe, or in the lighthouse, or next to the Lake of Tears, I don't know. So the story lives on in a song and the tree is a shrine, so they're remembered and can be visited. My theory is the cycle is like an earworm. It's on repeat until completed, and often songs can be used to calm children from their fears and allow them to sleep in the dark. The whole town are children that can't get to sleep because they're scared of the monsters, and as you grow up and learn more about the world, you have new fears about life. I like this theory. I don't think it's correct one because, our townspeople sleep a lot and do different things during the night. But I do actually believe after the last episode, specifically with Henry singing a song and telling how their family really loved singing songs together, it kind of feels like music still didn't play all of its parts in this TV show, and probably we're gonna see something else being unlocked by the music. And by the way, the new melody came right now in episode 5. Jade was listening to a new melody for the TV show, right? Maybe it's somehow also related to this place. Question number 13. Oksana Oleshchuk T6R. Here's my theory about the show. I think a long time ago people in this town decided to sacrifice children. Pretty much, you're still on the point. Right now you're 100% on the point. Or maybe just one specific child during a solar eclipse. Perhaps there was a brutal winter and a failed harvest, so they performed the sacrifice to bring back fertility and light. So far makes sense. However, the past versions of Tabitha and Jade refused to participate or backed out at the last second, leaving the ritual incomplete. This unfinished ritual created a flawed, endless loop. That's interesting. We do know that they definitely refused to participate, at least according once again to what we know right now, but them not participating actually created this endless loop, like the sacrifice was not exactly complete. I believe the people in the town will soon discover the truth about this incomplete history. Once they realize that an unfinished ritual is what keeps them trapped, the town will split into two factions. Pretty logical actually, kinda even makes sense. Wow. I'm impressed. One group, driven by fear and hunger, will argue that they must finish the ritual and sacrifice the child, Ethan, that the parents refused to give up centuries ago, believing it's their only ticket home. The other group will stand firm that they cannot murder a child no matter what. This whole town is actually a test for human souls. Right before the eclipse, the boy in yellow appears, the boy in white probably, to sold up and paranoia, the man in yellow, forcing the townspeople to turn on each other. If they collapse under pressure, choose survival over humanity, kill Jade and Tabitha, and sacrifice Ethan, they fail the test. The lesson remains unlearned, and the cycle resets again, just like it did with Victor's sister Eloise in the previous cycle. To break the loop, they must protect the child and refuse to finish the ancient evil ritual. It makes a lot of sense to me, but once again, you said it yourself, Victor was not sacrificed. Maybe Eloise was sacrificed, but once again, if she's still alive, she wasn't. And if she really, was torn apart, torn into pieces, like Victor is saying that he was able only to find just bits of pieces of her, that it also doesn't seem like a sacrificial death. So your logic here is very interesting. I kind of see it makes sense. Like 95% of it can be very true. And maybe the townspeople will actually decide to kill Jade, not because only he remembers things, but once again because they will be told like there is some kind of sacrificial ritual that you need to finish, and Jade and Tabitha and everybody else will try to stop them and they will kill them. Makes a lot of sense to me, honestly. Anyway, moving on. Yay, Donna survived. Lisa Simpson 4574 is very happy that Donna survived. So do I. I do like Donna. I am suspicious of Donna, but I do like Donna. Also, did I understand this bit right? Little Jade tells Big Jade that the townspeople killed Original and other him, and Original and other Tabitha because they find who they are, as in past lives. So then I'm guessing it's their original life that messed up the sacrifice. Doesn't have to be that way. No, not exactly. Try to save their kid, and because the sacrifice was messed up somehow, the original townspeople became monsters, and in a sense it's all Tabitha's and Jade's original life's fault, that everything is happening and why folk gets stuck in town, and the townspeople always find out and blame them somehow and they end up murdered. Now usually for people to blame somebody especially when they are afraid and they're scared for their life, you don't take that much. In order to start lighting the torches and bring up the pitchforks, humans don't need that much of a push usually. If you are scared and they tell you, okay, you're scared for your life, this guy is the reason why you're scared for your life, okay, let's burn this guy. This is how most of humanity's, unfortunately, brains work. I think Sophia will manipulate it somehow. Obviously, she will say like we need to make a sacrifice, just like in Bible, 1 point, we will do, because that's what she does. And a lot of morons, and we have seen that there are a lot of morons there in the middle of season 3, will obviously believe her. So I don't think though, especially according to the synopsises on Rotten Tomatoes, that we're gonna see a full revolt kind of situation in this season. I don't know, it would be interesting, but then again there is a whole season 5 with another 10 episodes probably, so we need to show something there, right? There's gonna be some kind of events and we're gonna need some NPCs probably. But look, if season 4 ends up with half the town being killed, or there's like completely situation right now when all of our heroes needs to escape to the village or somewhere else and the town is not safe for them, and season 5 is basically no more going to homes and hiding behind the talismans, I'm completely in, because then it means season 5 is gonna be epic as fuck. Alex Jung 9724. I'm still not convinced that Donna is on our side. And neither do I, even though it looks more and more that she's probably one of the good guys. And I was saying this for a while already. I'm suspicious of her, like some kind of a secret, maybe something that she's not revealing. I'm almost 100% sure she's one of the good guys. I mean, so far she did everything to help people and she's very genuine. I don't see her becoming evil, like suddenly, I'm gonna, no, definitely not. She was against the radio tower, against communicating with other people. She was pretty right about being against the, the radio tower. She had kind of interesting logic about this, but still, with other people, pulls the doll out of the lake. Yeah, that was suspicious to me. I agree with you here. Protective of Victor and Ethan, who know things, against Jade tripping to find answers, fires the shotgun that sent people from the bus into panic and got some of them killed. Well, I don't think you are fair here. She was trying to handle a very difficult situation after a very stressful evening, let's say it like this. So yeah, I don't see this being anyhow malicious from her part. Overly celebrates Fatima as a positive person who later gets severely violated against going into the woods when they ran out of the food, against Boyd going to find answers in the forest with Sarah, had some kind of a feud with Boyd before season 1, etc. And that's just a few highly suspicious things off the top of my head. Well, they're both pretty much alphas in this place, so obviously they will have some points to, where they nudge, where their heads butt. Yeah, I said it. I know I was supposed to say where they butt their heads, but what if their heads actually turn into butts? We also never saw any kind of flashback of her backstory. We didn't see any flashback other than Boyd, but everybody has some kind of a backstory and she barely has any. I agree with you here and had to take her for her word that she came with her sister who died. What else is the point of her character other than to lead them in the wrong direction? I think she might be the spider working with the man in yellow and the monsters. I wouldn't go that far, I told you. I'm pretty positive that she's definitely one of the good guys. But once again, I'm a sucker for a good surprise, so if suddenly, Donna is gonna be like, I'm a witch, I'm gonna witch you all, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah. Let's rewatch all of the 3 seasons again and find all of the little hints that tell us that Donna is actually the witch. But she's probably not. Neil, I would like to see how the villagers killed Jade with the giant rock. I agree with you here, yeah. I want to see that too. I mean, this is definitely a very interesting engineering feat on their part. Especially this looks like, the guy looks like Summer from the beginning of the previous era, like 1912, 1920, something like this. A little bit before the World War II, maybe just a little bit after World War I. So yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I would like to see it too. Roshikeshwale 2211. I found something. 1. What about the painting used to fix the wall in Sheriff Station? That's not a painting, that's the sign of the Hawaii location fly, the sign that was always there. They just use it to block the window now. That's a woman. I agree with you. Painting looks all like from around 1950s. Yes, that's an advertisement. The woman is smiling just like the monsters. She's more of like, this whole advertisement is once again just to fuck up with people's heads, because it's like you cannot really escape, and there you have a big ad for, vacation on Hawaii. Jade uses the safe word Capricorn. In astrology, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, which symbolizes time, cycles, suffering, restriction, karmic repetitions. Also, Capricorn's symbol is a sea god, symbolizes something that lives on land placed in water, just like the scarecrow monsters. I didn't think about this connection. Maybe I'm overthinking. All of us. Okay, don't get in your head that you're overthinking. This whole TV show is always making us overthink things, and this is why we're gathered here. This is why you're probably watching my channel, because you enjoy overthinking. So let's overthink together, my friend. Don't let anybody stop you from overthinking, ever. P.S. I've been a subscriber of your channel since season 3 aired, really like your videos. That's pretty much where my channel started. I just opened it many years ago, but I was barely publishing anything, and then when season 3 aired, I started to do some English videos because I got out of my head. I stopped overthinking, oh, everybody's gonna hate my accent, nobody's gonna watch me, they're gonna think blah 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 blah, that with my Russian accent I probably smell of beads, etc, etc, etc. And I just went with it, and luckily, it's nice. I like it here. I like it a lot. 3 more questions left, so... Access me too. With the reference to knowledge, Lucian and I, Odin, etc., I can't help but remember that in the game God of War, Odin has a witch kidnap and probably murder children whose souls are turned into crows that spy for him. They despise this, but are bound to obey. Something about the crows in town behaving similar. They may be bound to the town or the man in yellow. They may even be the ones that facilitate bringing people into town, just like in the game, by the way, as Odin's crows can teleport people across the 9 realms. First of all, I love the game, one of my favorite games ever, but I don't think the game will be a source of mythology here. And I do like the theory that the crows are actually maybe souls, somehow, being trapped in bird's body here, just like the bird that broke her wing as soon as, by the way, Sophia broke her arm. I don't know if there's a connection there, but it kind of looks like a weird coincidence. So anyway, as I told you before, I don't think, once again, Odin and Scandinavian mythology influences from in the lore of From. I think it's the other way around. It's like things from the spiritual world, like the crows and knowledge comes with the cost, somehow transforms to our real world when we're like, oh my god, there's probably this god Odin who gave up his eye because knowledge has a cost. I think this is how it works. Not sure if this matters. Mika has faith. Mika, everything matters. Everything you write and everything that everybody writes in my channel matters to me, at least to one person. I love you, and not because I need comments to blah blah blah, YouTube, algorithms. First of all, YouTube, kinda cares about comments, but in the hierarchy of the things that YouTube actually cares about, comments are very, very low. But I love reading your comments. I love seeing that I'm not the only one who's crazy about this TV show, and I love reading all of your comments, everybody. So keep writing. Hopefully those videos will keep bringing some views, and it will give me more motivation to make more of those videos, because I'm enjoying a lot. So in season 3, episode 6, Ethan is sitting at the table. He's talking with Tabitha because she just came back the day or so before on the ambulance, and her and Jim argued the night before. Tabitha is apologizing to Ethan because she knows he heard the argument. He says, I like it better when we first got here. Everyone was so scared. There was no time to be angry. I wish it could be like that again. Immediately, and I mean immediately after, Tabitha heard the Ankui kids upstairs and she freaked out and they ran out of the house. Then Fatima ended up killing Tilly, then Elgin did his part with the kimono lady, then Smiley was born, then Jim died, then Man in Yellow arrived, then Sophia entered the chat. I really think Ethan is the storyteller or something like this. Maybe there's a connection here, but it's like, once again, this is a little bit of a selective fact finding, because there was a lot of weird, horrible shit was happening way before Ethan said those words. May I remind you, season 3 starts with T and Chen being murdered, right? And all of the cattle being murdered, most of the cattle being murdered, and there is no food in the town, so there is a starvation right now crisis. So it was pretty shitty and scary even before the Ankui children arrived. But I do believe that Ethan is some kind of a, I don't know, OP character here in this place. Like, he has some powers that he needs to tap into that's probably even way more impressive than what Julie has. I do believe that because from the beginning, from the very first episodes, we kind of knew that Ethan is special to this place. He has a very important, unique role. What is it? I have some guesses, but nothing that is really based. So I'm probably going to keep it to myself until I see some of more hints towards where this story is going. And the last question by Amy Brown, I2Z. I saw that Jade as a kid say not only those men were him, but that there were many more. How many times has he been reincarnated? Okay, good. I saved myself a little bit. The story probably goes back way further in history than what we've seen in the show, since he's an ancient creature. The ancient creature is the man in yellow probably, or the evil that gave the man in yellow powers. Doesn't necessarily mean that Jade's soul is also ancient, because maybe, this evil entity was alive as long as the whole, the world was alive, since the Big Bang or something like this. But the sacrifice that happened with Ankui children, let's say, was 250 years ago. And this is when the story of reincarnation started. Now, there is a very interesting theory about Jade always wearing a t-shirt with kittens. Never counted them, so maybe there are actually 9 of them there. But still, cats, 9 lives. We've seen 5 of them, including the Jade that we are seeing right now. And maybe there were 4 more. I kind of like this. Once again, it's not based on anything but a t-shirt. But let's see, let's wait and see. Ethan asking Donna about what the fire was for was interesting because later it is used to light the doll on fire, and the scarecrow dolls was killed with the scarecrow post, needing Donna's fire to eventually save her from the dolls. Maybe it was just, like there are some people that like to be prepared. So especially in this place, if you find rag dolls that are pretty huge and maybe can come and be alive, one of the things that you want to be next to you is a fire, because it's not going to be pleasant for those dolls. So maybe it was just the case of let's be ready. Oh, once again, we're in a freaking village and having a fire is nice. Why not? I still say the answer is at the beginning is needing to keep the story from starting at all. Save her father by not having the story even begin and releasing all the dead so they never even died at all. I think in the first issue might be the man in yellow, probably creature being released or found, so the kids won't be killed if the creature is never released to tempt the parents to sacrifice the kids. And I think the last scene will be the book disappearing and the Matthews family will drive past where the tree was supposed to be and it's not there, but a lone crow shows up on a nearby tree. I don't think it's gonna happen, honestly. I do want a happy ending for the Matthews family. I do want them, like, I can take the worst Deus Ex Machina that the creators will pull if they actually gonna bring Jim back to life, but I don't believe it's gonna happen. Not the same vibe. Like, this show is dark. I think we should all be prepared and even expect a half happy ending, like semi-happy ending. There's probably gonna be some bad news in the end. Maybe some will get some good news, like, yeah, we're saved, but, and probably a lot of our heroes will die eventually and not gonna be able to escape this place. I don't know. I'm actually sucker for a happy ending. I'm not gonna be upset if suddenly everybody's gonna be saved from all of our heroes. Nobody's gonna die, but let's face it, the way From has been unfolding so far, there's a very good chance that a lot of them are not gonna survive this TV show. Thank you for watching. I do enjoy making those videos. You're more than welcome to check my merch. I want to thank everybody who supports on Patreon and on YouTube members. Your donation, your financial help is what makes this channel possible. This is not just words, this is fucking fact. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And as usual, I'm gonna see everybody else on the next video. Probably gonna take me a couple of days because I have some family things to do. Anyway, more than happy to come back as soon as possible. As usual, I'm gonna see you all in the next one. Meanwhile, bye!